Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I am Uma and this is where I share my journey learning front-end development. In our previous video, we covered the basics of HTML and today we're going to be diving into the styling powerhouse, which is CSS. More specifically, we'll be tackling CSS selectors, and these selectors are important because they tell CSS exactly which HTML elements you want to style. So let's jump right in. Over here we have this HTML website that we built out in our last video. This is just plain HTML, and right here we have the HTML file opened in VS Code. So to quickly recap, we discussed the basic structure of an HTML document where we talked about the HTML tag, the head tag, the body tag. The body tag is what contains the visible part of your website. Right now, our page looks pretty plain, and to make it look good, we use CSS, which stands for Cascading Style Sheets. This is what we use to style our web page, and to do that, we first need to create the style sheet. That's the file, the CSS file, and here I'm going to call it style.css. And in order to link the HTML file to this style sheet, we use the link tag, and the link tag goes inside of the head tag. So you can see a relationship here is saying style sheet, and the href is going to be our CSS file name, which is style.css. All right, so this way, both HTML file and the CSS file are now linked together. So let us start writing some CSS. The CSS syntax consists of a selector and a declaration block. And there are several ways in which you can select an HTML element. The first one is the element selector, where you target the element, the HTML element, and give it a style. For instance, on this page, I want to select the paragraphs, all the P tags. So this is the selector. Next, I'll open my curly braces, and this is the declaration block, which contains a property and a value. So for me, what I want to do right now is to change the color of all the paragraphs in this website to say red, color red. So within this declaration block, I will type in color, and this is the property color, and then the value I'll give it red. So watch what happens now. Now within our website, you see that all the paragraphs now have red color. Can confirm that there. Yeah, this is the paragraph. So yeah, we can see that all the paragraphs now are red. So let's try to change it to something else, say green. Yeah, so this is the first way in which you can select an element to style, and I call this the element selector. All right, so another way you can style HTML element is to use what we call the class selector. With the class selector, what happens is you give that element, or the element you want to target, or the element you want to style, you give it a class name, and then within your style sheet you target that class name and then style it. So that might sound confusing, so let's do something. All right, so I want to give this button, or let's say all the buttons on our page, I'll give it a class name of, so we start typing, this is a class selector, I'll call it btn. All right, so within my style sheet, I'll call this comment class selector. All right, so to target that class of btn, you start with a dot followed by the name of that class, so dot btn. So what I want to do now to this button, that's this button here, this explore button, I want to change the background color to red, for instance. So the property name is background color, which is this, then the value is red. And now you can see here that immediately the button background has changed to red. So I want to also change the color of the text to white so that it is very visible there. So I'll type in here color white. Now you can see our button has changed to red and the color of the text now is white. Also, if I want to give this button to make the size of the font bigger, I can come here and say font size. This is font size, and I'll say 20 pixel. Now the size of the text has increased. All right, so that is how you target classes and style them. So something else to take note of: if I want to style all of the buttons on this page at the same time, I mean, I want all the buttons on this page to be exactly the same style. All I need to do now is to give all of the buttons this same class. What I mean is, I'll come right here to this next button and I'll type in here class BTN, and immediately you see that exactly it has changed, right? It has taken all of the style of the button. The same thing goes for here and here. All you need to do now is to give all of the buttons the same class. I'm going to just copy it right here and paste it here and here. So now all the buttons on our page now is red background, has a red background, and a text color of white. So next we'll move on to ID selector. So, and this is another way to target HTML element to style it. So what I want to do now is to style this heading 1 tag. I want to move it to the center of our page and probably change the color of the text. So with the ID selector method, I'll come here to the element I want to target and I'll give it an ID. I'll call it main heading. One thing to note is when you're using IDs are supposed to be unique, right? So no two elements in your HTML file should have the same ID. It just makes sense that IDs are meant to be unique. So to target this ID now in my CSS file, I would start with a hash symbol and the name of that ID, which is main heading. Open my curly braces. So I want to align the text to the center. The property is text align and the value is center. Now it's at the center. Then I want to change the color. Say color purple. Now this is it. And I want to give it an underline. So it's going to be the property is text decoration underline. All right, and that's it. So there are several CSS properties that you can play around with in order for you to achieve what you want on your website. So to quickly recap, we talked about the element selector, which targets all the tags of a specific type. For instance, what I did here was to target all of the paragraph tags and change the color to green. And then the next, we talked about the class selector, which targets elements with specific class attributes. And that's what I did here. The buttons, on all the buttons, I gave them a class name of BTN, and I targeted it here, and I changed the background color, the text, and the font size. And the next thing, the last thing we talked about is the ID selector, which targets a unique element with a specific ID attribute. So here in the heading 1 tag, I gave it an ID of main heading, and I styled it here, changing the alignment to the text alignment to center, changing the color to purple, and the text decoration to underline. So it is worth noting that these selectors have different levels of power, and that's what they call specificity. And generally, the ID are more specific than the class, and the class more specific than the selectors. And what this means is if there are conflicting styles applied, the more specific one wins. For instance, if here I have within this element, I give this button, the button tag, I give it a background color of let me say blue. You see that it doesn't change, right? It doesn't change because I have a class here, a class in which I've changed the background color to red. So what I said is in the hierarchy of specificity, class comes before the button, right? So in this class comes before the element rather. So in this example, you can see that there's a conflicting style of the background color. Here the element has a background color of blue, and here the element, the class has a background color of red. You see that this red takes preference, right? So that is what the specificity is talking about. All right, so I encourage you to play around with these things we just talked about here today. try to explore some of these CSS properties and just see what you get on your website. And in our next video, we'll talk about another important thing, which is the CSS box model. I hope you found this video helpful. Please give it a thumbs up, leave a comment below with any questions, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on future videos. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.